Welcome back to Blooming in Brisbane. Today we're in the garden of Merve Whitehouse's succulent garden, and Merve has been a collector for how long?
Around about the 30 to 40 years. I'm not exactly sure when I started, around about 1980 or something like that.
That's an amazing time, Merve. It's a beautiful garden that you've collected and you've put together here. Tell us a little bit about some of the obstacles that you faced when you started putting the garden together.
Well, I suppose the main thing was to get the structure of the garden right, but I was lucky that the block that I'd purchased did have a natural rockery outcrop here, so it was just a matter of building on the outcrop that was here. All of the soil that the cactus is growing in I've had to actually make myself.
Wow.
It's not a natural soil here because it has to be very well drained, of course, for cactus and succulents.
Of course, I see the aspect here that the garden gets a lot of sunlight, and this is a really important factor, isn't it, for many of these plants?
Well, it is, although a lot of succulents actually come from higher growing areas here, and while they might grow in full sun, they don't have the intensity of sun that we have in Brisbane.
Of course.
Especially with the humid conditions and the sun. It does tend to hurt some of the plants.
True. One of the best aspects I can see of this garden is the brilliant topography that you've created with all the different levels, and of course the exceptional drainage. And of course this is only going to be of great benefit when it comes to summertime in our rainy season, isn't it?
Well, that's right. You do have to have your drainage during the rainy season because, but by the same token, a lot of these plants do enjoy a bit of rain. Some of them come from areas where there's quite substantial rainfall, but the
Yes.
drainage is extreme. You know, they grow on cliff faces where there's dry periods of the year.
That's right.
But heavy rain at other periods of the
Like
year.
they can virtually dry out within 24 hours of getting that rain.
They can dry out very quickly.
Yes. Now, just looking at this garden, I think what's proving to me is that it's not always about flowers and about beautiful trees, but you've got amazing structure and beautiful, beautiful texture in this garden. This is one of the best things about a succulent garden, isn't it?
It is. There's a very great range of shape and form of plants, and that's what gives it their intrigue. The fact that a lot of them are just called fat plants, really, and they're water storage plants, and the way that they store water in different shapes and forms
Absolutely.
makes it interesting.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed, I mean, you've got some really specialised plants here that obviously aren't obviously available at all nurseries. So you being a member of the Succulent and Cacti Society of Queensland, is this where you've sourced a lot of these plants from in the past and through other collectors?
Yes, I mean a lot of these things, I have imported seed. It's very hard to import plants, of course, there's a lot more quarantine problems, but I have imported cactus seeds, which you can grow a lot of stuff from seed. And there are other members of different societies in Australia, different cactus societies, where different members have imported seeds of different sorts of species and different genera. And I've sourced most of my plants through collectors, through other collectors, through other cactus societies and our own society. I haven't actually bought too many from nurseries. Nurseries tend to grow the
stock standard lines.
quick growing, easy to grow plants, whereas I've tended to go for some of the more rarer
The
species.
rarer specialised varieties, of course.
Yeah.
But my gosh, I have to say, growing cactus from seed, that takes a little bit of patience,
Well,
viewers.
it
I mean,
certainly does,
it's not for everyone to undertake, but certainly it's a great way of starting. And to be honest, it's one of the most inexpensive ways of starting a collection too.
It
isn't
is, but you want to be reasonably young when you start. I mean, I wouldn't want to be starting to grow from seed at my age.
All right. I'm sure you've got many years ahead of you yet. But seriously, do you do most of your propagating from the garden as well? I mean, the plants that you grow?
I do. But most of my propagating these days is done vegetatively.
Yes.
I don't propagate a lot from seed anymore. Although some plants, I don't know whether you can't actually see from here, but you'll see some bags on some of my plants where I'm collecting seed.
Yes, yes.
And these are usually euphorbia seeds, which
Yes.
throw their seeds everywhere when they're ripe. So I collect them in bags, and you quite often get a different shaped plant from something grown from seed than something grown from a cut.
Nature's surprises are always the nicest, I think. I notice that the mulch that you've used on the garden is gravel.
That's
Now this is obviously going to highlights the plants beautifully, but there's another purpose for that too, isn't it? I mean,
Well, it does help preserve moisture. It's
Yes.
the same as any other
Yes.
mulch. It preserves moisture, but the other thing is it doesn't take any nutrient from the soil
No.
like some mulches do need nitrogen
Yes.
to break down, the organic mulches.
Yes.
But the stones don't absorb much moisture, so whatever rain does fall goes straight into the soil.
and you can put them closer up towards the plants too, which means that you
there's-
won't get moisture sitting up against the trunk
That's right.
or the neck of a plant either.
That's exactly right. There's
Yeah.
no problem with those.
And I must say, you know, the gravel used as a mulch is really quite beautiful. And this is one of the very rare occurrences where you can use gravel predominantly in your entire garden, because this is what it's going to show off, the best effect of a style garden like
Well,
this.
you can, as long as you haven't got too many gum trees around.
Oh,
that
well.
put the leaves all over the mulch. So you've got to, there's got a few leaves here already around the place, but I just blow those off with a
Yes.
bit of a blower. And it does sort of showcase the plants a bit better, the stone mulch.
Yes.
I
I love succulents of all different varieties, and I really believe that, you know, many of the euphorbia family in particular, and some of the other succulents are very underestimated for their use in average gardens, and I think people should look at integrating them a little bit more. What do you feel
Well,
about that?
they could. I mean, some of the euphorbias you can't see these flowering crown of thorns here,
Yes.
but they get very spectacular flowers.
They are. They
Some of them
certainly are. They're-
And some of the cacti have got extremely spectacular flowers.
yes.
But I mean, this time of the year is not the time for cactus flowers. They're normally spring, summer.
Yes. And of course, let's be honest, when the plants are in flower, they actually are an amazing magnet for native bird species as well, and insects as well. They do
Yes,
come
well, hey, all the native birds and insects will make use of whatever flowers are around. It
Absolutely.
doesn't worry them whether they come from Africa, America or Australia.
That's right. So having cacti and succulents in your garden also means that you can also help the ecology in your backyard, and that's quite an important thing. And they're not just to be kept in a pot at the back door, are they? You know, they can be used beautifully as you've used them here in the garden to showcase their lovely form.
That's exactly right.
And
But
their unique
I
colours.
find that with the size of houses, or the size of house blocks getting smaller, there's a lot more people growing cactus and succulents because they don't take up as much space as a lot of other plants.
Unless you've got them in a large garden like this.
That's right. And I've grown a lot larger species than the normal
That's right.
collectors in a
Now, Merve,
housing unit would.
Now, Merve, I have to say, and to all the viewers out there, that you've got your garden opening up very soon for Australia's Open Gardens. And this is the first time you'll be opening the doors for a lot of people to come and really appreciate what you've done and really soak it up. You're excited about that?
Oh, well, I mean, I've had plenty of open gardens for the Cactus Society,
Yes,
but not
yes.
for the general public.
Look, I have to say it's a pretty unique opportunity for the general public to come and experience a garden such as this, and I'd like to thank you so much for your time and for your amazing knowledge, and I wish you all well, and you and your wife, for a wonderful open weekend. I'm sure it's going to be fabulous for everybody.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks very much, Noel.
Thank you, Merve.
Thank you so much for joining us on Blooming in Brisbane. And next week, Claire Bickle joins us as she visits a beautiful rose garden. Noel Burdette pops by with Jill Coombe. For more information, visit us on Facebook, Blooming in Brisbane. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Organic Extra and Plants Plus. Thank you and good night.